Hey everybody, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I am Matt Connerton, and of course to my right, the honorable and wind-blown Gary S. Hopper.
Yes, and to my right, which is kind of weird,
I know, right?
is as anybody who knows me knows that I hate all Democrats.
Yes.
Right.
I had to become an independent just to be on the show.
Right. But one of the Democrats that I hate less than a lot of them is Jeff Goley, who is state rep from Manchester.
Gary, I hope it's not that you hate less. I hope that word hate isn't in there with me.
Not as much.
I think I should be more. I think I should be right in the middle between the two of you because I'm more in the middle. That's where I belong sitting.
Really? You can say that.
I don't know. Well, you're okay. Well, yeah, because you'd be to the left of me because I'm an independent.
Well, it depends if we look at it as a circle. Really, he's kind of to the left of you.
Then I'd be where I belong, to the left of you, and you'd be to the right of me. We'd be right where we need to be.
Right.
I think I've lost track.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much.
Already? It's so early. Only 1 minute into the show.
So anyway, so you're a firefighter in New Hampshire in Manchester too.
Yes.
So what was going on last night?
Lots of wind throughout the city. We a number of places with wires down. We had one good-sized tree, probably 18 inches wide across. Came down across Lucas Road in the south end of Manchester. Took the power lines down with it and was sitting on top of the cable wires when we got there.
Anyone hurt or anything?
Nobody was hurt,
Good.
fortunately.
Good.
And amazing enough, you know whose house I was in front of?
No.
Scott Spradling.
I don't know who's Scott.
You know Scott Spradling from New MUR? He's also now works at lobbyist up in Concord.
Okay.
Oh,
Used to work at MUR.
okay. Wow.
Yeah,
So
it was right in front of his house.
So as a firefighter, what do? You don't really get out there with a chainsaw as like in the old days. That's what they used to do.
No, we get there first to make sure that the line's not energized still, and we cordon off the area, make sure no cars. Funny enough, we had one gentleman come by in his little Toyota Corolla or whatever he was in, and the tree's hanging across the cable lines. It had already come through the power lines and was just resting on the cable lines, big tree. And all the way across the road, probably 6 feet off the ground, he pulls up and says, do you mind if I drive through and go underneath the tree? I looked at him. I said, with the wind blowing the way it is, not knowing how the wires are held to that pole or the pole snapping, I said, do you want to take the chance of that tree coming down up?
At least he asked.
Yeah. If we weren't there, he probably would have just drove right around and gone.
Oh yeah, he would have.
Yeah.
Would have.
Yeah, but we blocked off the area, and then I guess like anything else, public service comes in and they have their crew
Then
that they
call
contract
Asplin and come out and start cutting stuff up, and
then they can put everything back together again.
do you ever get to like taser somebody like that?
No,
Do you
they
guys
don't give
get
us
tased?
those. Only
No?
the cops get those.
Jeez, that's too bad.
It is.
That would make being a
That would be
firefighter a
fun.
lot more fun,
Yes.
right?
Put us through the training, and we do
well,
well.
training. What do you need training for? You just point and shoot,
Right. Yeah. I mean, how hard can it be?
You're right.
Aren't you a hunter? You know how to aim, right?
They must have a little laser pointer on them or something to make it easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Or more fun.
If
at
not,
least.
we ought to make one so that has a laser sight on it, and you can just aim and point and shoot.
Gary can invent that for you.
I can.
Yeah.
I can. What the hell? What was I
But
invent?
we were lucky enough that this week we don't have session, so we were nothing going on today at least for me. I don't
So
know
you get
about
to sleep in and get
No,
recover
I just
from
got out
this.
of the firehouse. I worked today.
Oh,
too.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Which firehouse are you associated with?
I am at Engine 3, which is down by the mall in New Hampshire.
Oh.
Down by Olive Garden and that area. of
See,
town.
okay.
At the firehouse. It's a Kiss song. You probably
Kiss
know it.
Oh,
Oh, what the heck happened? Oh, what rotten thing did I do last Thursday? This is probably too inside baseball, but I'll try to explain it. We had, there's a state representative from the Seacoast, Max Abernson. Seabrook. And if the viewers remember, back around 2001, there was a little 18-month-old kid that was killed by the kid's father. Okay. And the kid was like basically beaten to death. The guy who killed the little kid has convinced Max and a bunch of other people. I guess they got a website devoted to it. Do you remember what the guy's name is?
No, I don't, but I remember.
You know what I mean.
Yes.
Anyway, they've convinced them that he's innocent and it's all misunderstanding and stuff like that. To give you an idea how horrible, I'm not going to get into too much details because in case there's kids watching, but
Yeah.
basically the child was dead and there was evidence that the child's had bones that had fractured that had re-healed. I mean, this kid had been abused for a long time before its final demise. And anyway, I've been sitting on judiciary for a few years. I've gone through abortion bills, end-of-life issues, other bills that have come before the committee that are very emotionally charged bills. I have sat through nothing like this before. I went out of there, I was really, really upset. I mean upset like angry upset, not like I wanted to cry, but
Yeah.
really, really upset. That this guy brought this to the State House because that's not the place for it.
Right.
It had already been appealed to the federal court in New Hampshire. It had already been appealed to the state Supreme Court in New Hampshire. It had been looked at upside down and sideways by the Attorney General's office. Multiple appeals. It was just not the place to bring it. Basically, his bill would have almost, in effect, retried the case or forced the Attorney General to look into it further and stuff like that. One of the women that he came forward to testify, one of his associates or whatever, testified that they didn't do a thorough autopsy and that child might have had a rare heart condition that caused spontaneous bruising, which is she read it on the internet, so she knows.
Right.
It was I was talking. What was one of your buddy firefighters? I was talking to in the back of the room, and I says it's one of those times I felt really glad in that thing.
He wanted to talk about the whole thing on the floor, and as you know, we tabled that bill.
No,
So
we didn't
well,
table it. No, that's what.
We tabled one of his bills when he got up there, it's just so
maybe.
we didn't hear the whole debate.
No, that wasn't tabling. That was the fun part. I was praying about it, wondering what to do because I was upset about this all day.
Yeah.
And it finally came to me. There's tabling. If you table bill, I'm sure they do it locally. If you table something, you're taking it and putting it over on the table so that you can possibly bring it up later. Or maybe when you get more information, you can bring it up later and discuss it. There's another thing that we use, I don't know, once every 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
It's called indefinite postponement.
That's, yes.
Okay? And it came to me, says, that's what we should do, right? So I made a motion for indefinite postponement. And what indefinite postponement is, it's just like tabling a bill, except it's putting it on the floor, stamping on it, and driving a stake through its heart.
Yeah.
They call tabling basically a polite way of killing a bill. This is an impolite way of telling him to go pound sand.
Okay. Yeah.
And it passed
That's
with
right.
flying colors, And I got up and I said, A, this has already been done. It's already been heard. And B, you really don't want to hear this.
Right.
You really don't want to hear this debate.
Yeah.
We already had a long enough 2 days, too.
Oh,
that
yeah, it
that's
was a long 2 days,
One
and
of the
he had-
things we really didn't want to sit around
And Max
listening
had already insulted the speaker. He go ahead, tell him what do you do?
He came down to the floor, and whenever you go to the floor and you speak in the chambers, you always address the speaker as the speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Doesn't matter if
And-
it's Democrat, Republican. It doesn't matter.
Sure,
That's
it's
the protocol.
Honor and privilege of the chair, and that's how you address the person.
Yeah.
He came down and addressed the speaker as Mr. Chairman,
Huh.
and the speaker called him on it and said, "When you address me, I am the Speaker of the House." And he
Well, now
started to-
wait, back up.
he's-
Jasper said, "Hey, you've already done this a few times, and I let it go."
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so it wasn't the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he called him on it this time and said, "You will call me the Speaker." Well, Max came up and said, "Well, I'd like to challenge that."
Really?
I don't think. Where does it say I have to call you that?
Wow.
And so they went on back and forth and had a little bit of a debate going on, and finally the speaker told him, I will call you out of order and send you to your seat, and you won't speak at all if you don't want to address me the way you're appropriately supposed to address me when you come down here to the floor.
Yeah.
And he kind of tucked his shoulders in, turned around, and said, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah,
no
oh,
kidding.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
went on with his whole speech. So
Yeah.
it was quite interesting to see the way he was acting that day.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yes.
And of course, he's got a record, criminal record, so
Yeah. What did he do? Did
He
he like?
was-
Go ahead.
he had a party at his house, and there was a little, this is my understanding, there was a little ruckus that went on in his backyard, and instead of calling the cops, went outside with his gun and fired it in the air or fired it in the ground or wherever he fired it, and thought he'd take matters into his own hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Bad move.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So he's the same guy that got kicked off of criminal justice.
exactly.
He tried to get on criminal justice. They put him on, appointed him, and then they found out he was the same guy that got arrested for. They said, no. You're not, I don't think so. And then some of the some people get upset. Says, how dare you? He's got a criminal record. He's already paid his debt. It's like, now that I've seen the guy, I don't know what committee you put him on. But
I don't know what committee he's on. I don't actually. I think he might have refused to go on a committee. He might not even have a committee.
good.
I don't think he has a committee assignment.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but it was that that bill he had to retry that case was really horrible.
Maybe this is him calling.
I hope so.
Hi, welcome to Rock Paper Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Hi, this is Eddie. I got a question for the guest, if I could, and both of you.
All right.
I wanted to ask Representative Goley about retirement, if I could. Why is it that we constantly hear the bad news about retirement, like how bleak the outlook is and how underfunded it is? Yet we all know, even a casual observer of the stock market knows that the stock markets are on fire. They're pretty much at record levels. I mean, don't the people who are in charge of this stuff invest their retirement funds in the stock market? And how come we don't hear about? Basically, people think that it's underfunded because the retirees have it so good, but we never hear about the mismanagement of it. We never hear about how did we get to where we are today. And if we could just expand on that, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Sure.
Well,
It goes,
thank you for the call.
'Cause that's your committee, right?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It goes back to the 90s. It was 10 or 15 years where the legislature came in and the system was, I think, a little over 100% funded. And what they did was went and passed legislation that lowered the employer rates, artificially lowered them, while the employees continued paying what they were supposed to be paying. The municipalities had lower rates, and therefore didn't continue to fund at the a rate that should have been, even in good times. We all know there's good and bad times, and just because it was a good time, we shouldn't be lowering the rates of the employers and keep the employees' rates where they were at. I mean, we should all still been paying the same. So that left some unfunding, which now is called the unfunded accrued liability of the system, which is currently right around $4 billion.
That's for the state,
Yes,
including municipalities.
municipalities and
Okay.
the state. So what they've gone and done is they've changed the way the actuarial calculations are done. They've lowered the rate of return. It was up over 8% that they had said when they were calculating that would be the average that they would figure in when they're calculating the rates, that we should be getting an 8% rate of return on our investments. That was even during the bad times. We've lowered that rate. I believe it's 7.5 or 7.75 right now. More realistic as to what you would expect for earnings. The management team has done very well. They returned 18.5%, 18.6% last year. And the year before they had, I want to say 17% or somewhere in that range. So they're doing good on the investment. We've changed the makeup of the investment committee and who can be on it. It's professionally being maintained with the committee. They're doing a good job. They've worked really hard on the investments and are producing the returns that we're looking for. And then the final thing that was done was they went and that unfunded liability, it was pretty much like taking out a mortgage on your house. put out pretty much basically a 30-year mortgage to the cities and towns to recoup that $4 billion to fully fund the system. So we're into year 6 now of that payment plan. So the rates are higher right now for the municipalities only because they're paying off that unfunded liability. You look at it 25 years from now, that rate, once that unfunded liability and the system's funded, I was looking at some of the employer rates, if not including the unfunded liability portion of it. And for the normal cost of the system, I was looking at, I think police was 5.08% employer costs. For the system you have at that rate, once everything's paid off, I mean, it's cheaper than Social Security for the employer rate. Teachers are, I think, down 2.2+%. And for the new hires, because of the way they restructured their retirement benefits, new hires, I think, are down close to only 1% of their salary. So when you look at the 23% for police and fire that municipalities have to pay now, the majority of that is going towards the unfunded liability. Once that's paid off, it's a really good system, and it's climbing out of the hole. It's gone up. I think we were down almost 56%. We're up 61% now.
Oh, wow.
Just over the last couple of years. If the market keeps going the way it is and things work out the way they are, I mean, we're going to do well.
Well, it's nice to have somebody on the show that knows about that, because somebody called, I think, a couple of weeks ago. I don't know.
Right.
And I hope I answered the question that you.
So, I ain't dead yet.
Not yet.
Let's see. I had my last visit to my at Elliott Hospital, the cancer center.
Oh, for your neck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had my last visit there today.
Good.
If you have cancer issues, and that is a really good place. They are really, really nice people. I had Dr. Singh, really nice guy. Wicked, easy to get along with. Then Lisa's was the nurse. She's a sweetheart. They're just really, the whole group over there is really good.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have any more treatment now?
It's all gone for now.
Good.
Excellent. Good to hear.
Yeah, it is for me too.
Yeah, that was kind of torturous for a while there.
Yes. But
keep those vampires away from your neck, you'll be all set.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what caused it. I think vampires cause cancer, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, how are you going to be a state legislator? How are you going to continue to do that if you got to avoid vampires? I mean, from what I hear, vampires. Don't some of them, wear capes and have big teeth and stuff?
Up at the State House?
Yeah, that's what I hear. I don't know.
Vampires at the State House.
Jen told me that. She's probably just trying to see if I'd believe her.
Oh, yeah. That's probably true. They probably are. I thought... But... Sorry, you lost me. Anyway. What else is going on? Anyway, Jeff, you came on to talk about cool stuff. We had... what's going on with the... we had a bill to allow hunting with suppressors. You can't call them
silencers. They're suppressors.
Everybody gets upset. If you use the word magazine when you mean, or use the word clip when it's supposed to be a magazine, there's all these gun nuts that get like, oh, it's not a magazine, it's a clip. And then they get upset if you call it a silencer because it's actually it's a suppressor.
See, I'd never even heard that term before because I don't know anything about guns. But
right. They are basically suppressor because they suppress the sound. They don't eliminate it.
Correct. Oh, right. Okay.
Silencer sounds as if it eliminates it.
See, that makes sense to me because on TV shows and in movies, when someone uses a quote-unquote silencer, you still hear like a pew. Yeah. When they that's a better approximation of it. Yes,
right.
But they're not
problem.
really.
I made it sound like a laser, like in Star Wars or something. Phew, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know anything about guns.
Yeah, yeah, you do. You wouldn't shoot with me.
Well, that's true. But
so you know something.
I know something.
All right. Sorry.
You survived the shoot.
I did, and
so did Gary. Survived the shooting. Yes. Anyway, sorry.
So we. Representative Burt brought in a piece of legislation this year to allow them for hunting. Currently, they're not allowed. You can legally own one, have one to target practice with, have one to use here in the state of New Hampshire, but you cannot use it for hunting.
Why is that? What's their rationale? Safety?
Still trying to figure out the rationale.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to. There was arguments that hunters want to hear someone shooting in the woods, whoever's next to them. I don't buy that as
I was going to say that's what I would guess would be the reason, but
Well, yeah, but that means you wouldn't want to go out there during bow season.
you don't know who's in the tree next to you.
No, those buggers.
that's true.
And so we had Representative Burt brought in a piece of legislation. We had the American Suppressor Association came up to put on a demonstration for us back in February at Granite State Ranges down in Hudson. It showed the difference. We had a 308, a 9 mil, a 22, an AR-15, and we all equipped with suppressors. So everybody had to try the different guns that they had and see the different sounds, and a 12-gauge shotgun.
They suppressed a 12-gauge?
They did. It didn't make... That one didn't have as much an effect as a 308. A 308, we screwed it on, took a shot, took it off, just to hear the difference. And it does take it down. It doesn't take it down enough where you can sit there and shoot all day without hearing protection.
Oh, really?
They say the claim that a 308 is about 140 decibels, which is pretty loud. The 308's a loud gun.
Yeah.
This will knock it down probably 30 decibels, and they said that'll bring it down to between 90, 100 decibels, somewhere in there. And comparing that to the sound, it was compared to what a jackhammer would be doing when someone's using a jackhammer and we all know those aren't quiet. You can hear them when they're on the street.
Yeah.
Right.
But it does take the noise level down.
What is the decibel level that you should start wearing hearing protection, or do they?
They didn't talk about that. I would assume my guess would be anywhere between 50, 60 decibel range.
Okay. Well, now what did the 223? How many? Do you know what the decibel?
I don't know. I don't know what the decibel range was bringing that down, but we were concentrating on the hunting aspect, so we were talking mostly about the 308. And it's also helps you with a more accurate second shot because it suppresses the muzzle from muzzle reaction.
Yeah.
So you can get a cleaner second shot off a little bit quicker when you're shooting a game. And, it's a matter of not only hearing protection, but I think it's safety in the woods. And when you're in the woods, one of the concerns you hear out there is, as houses continue to be built here in the southern part of the state and you lose land, you can be 300 yards behind someone's house when they're out raking leaves in the fall, and when you shoot a 308, you could be 2 hillsides over, but to them it sounds like you're in their backyard.
Yeah.
And my argument to Fish and Game when they came in opposition was that this would help maintain keeping more land open to hunters because the fear of that hunter being in your backyard won't be as obvious.
It also would, I would presume, take out those peak decibels, the really sharp.
Correct.
And
I mean, it does every time you take a shot, and those 140 decibels go off, and you're right next to it. It does permanent damage every time you shoot. I mean, your hearing doesn't come back. Once you start losing it, it's gone.
Yeah. There was I don't know. It had to be about 15 or 20 years ago. I read an article about I think it was Miami, Florida cops that were reaching retirement age, and all of them had lost like a huge chunk of their hearing. It was because they were too manly to wear hearing protection when they went down the range.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, but you remember years ago. I mean, remember when you're too young, I guess. But when I was little, it was a big deal that the goalies were starting to wear masks.
Huh.
I forget what the Bruins
Used to be
guy.
just the first full face piece of plastic, and now you look at what they have, cages and.
Yeah, back then it was I forget what who the goalie was. He had like put stitches every.
He's right here.
No. I'm talking about on the for the Bruins. He actually had drew stitches where he would have had stitches if he wasn't wearing the mask. But I mean that's a whole manly thing is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, the whole bunch of them were lost their hearing.
And they also talked about they were concerned about poaching. And the argument there was that we counted on was that if someone wanted to poach with a suppressor, they could do it now because anyone in New Hampshire can own one as long as you go through the permitting process and, file with the government and get your fee and pay the $200 it is to register it. You can own one now. So if they were going to poach, it would be going on now. So that argument to me, there was no...
If people are going to do it illegally, they're going to do it illegally. So the other thing, too, is we had on the Ware selectmen tried to get a sound ordinance through this year. We killed it. I shouldn't say we. It's actually Dave Recupero is a guy who ran for selectman in Ware, but he managed to make it so it was more of a study bill than an actual bill, and at the deliberative session. But one of the people got up and said, there's people with shotguns shooting. They're only a mile away from my house. And I think that's part of the problem is these people are the people that are moving from Massachusetts, they move out into the country and they're so ignorant as to firearms that they hear a gun going off and they're afraid to go outside. You as well as, you and I both know if somebody's shooting directly at you with a shotgun a mile away, it doesn't do anything. Those BBs drop about...
Well, you're lucky if they go 100 yards. I've been out in the fields pheasant hunting, and you can hear when people are shooting at the pheasants, you can hear the BBs dropping around you. It sounds like hail coming down.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so they have no clue. So using suppressors to quiet some of the noise, I think you're right. It would probably increase...
Keep land open, not close it.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is people go out there do archery all the time. That's pretty darn quiet.
And there's 32 or 36 other states right now that currently allow it for some form of hunting, one form or another.
Right.
So it's not new. It's been around for a while. It's in the other states.
It's also not going to be that prevalent.
No.
Because it still costs you probably a decent suppressor is about $1,000.
$200 for just the permit alone, and then I think anywhere at the low end starts at $400, and then it just goes up from there. So
yeah,
it's not,
so it's somewhere between $600 and $2,000 that's going to cost you to equip your firearm with that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a cheap proposition that everybody's going to be. It's also something I don't think anybody's going to poach with it.
No, like I said, if they're going to poach with it, they could do it now, and like I've said in the testimony, that once you start going down that road, now you're talking about possibly violating federal laws because you have a federal permit for it. So the fines aren't just your hunting license and to a fishing game. They get a lot stiffer when you're using a federally regulated piece of equipment for unintended uses.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And it's also who's going to risk losing not only because you can lose your rifle for poaching, but... Pardon.
What kind of a sound does it make when they do archery? Is that like a laser, like I was saying?
No, not really. It's more of a...
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of a cool sound.
Right?
But they're talking about they might want to do the opposite for those. They want you to hear them, so they're going to make you fire off a little bang cap or something just so you can know somebody's in the woods shooting.
I can't tell if you're kidding.
He's kidding.
Okay, because I can imagine somebody coming up with an idea like that.
It sounds like a law that they're trying to pass.
What about on the Dukes of Hazzard? They had those the arrows armed with dynamite, and they'd blow stuff up.
That would work.
Yeah,
that was also.
You'd be cooking your meat while you're shooting it.
What was it? Sylvester Stallone. What was the series of movies he made? Rambo. There was one of the Rambos where he had explosive nitroglycerin tips, and it's like a little atom bomb going off, and it's only like this big on the tip of the arrow.
So then some of the other legislation, we want to talk about the red-tailed hawk, the bobcat, and the mastodon?
Go ahead.
Sounds
that
like
was wicked funny.
Or something.
Yeah, pretty close.
So every year, if we were up in the legislature, we get a bunch, usually a couple of classrooms of fourth graders that come up pieces of legislation. We've had the pumpkin, we've had the potato, I think was one, a couple other things as state fruit, state vegetable, state
whatever.
Well, this year we had 3 groups come in. One wanting the bobcat as the official wildcat of New Hampshire. Another group came in with the red-tailed hawk.
The official raptor.
Raptor.
Yep.
And another group, the mastodon as the official fossil of New Hampshire. 1 out of the 3 won.
Yeah.
It did. I didn't know the one got. The bobcat did get through.
Yes.
All right, we have an official.
Yeah. No, that just got through this house.
Yes.
Now it's got to get to the governor's office.
Well, it seems inevitable, though, right? I mean,
theoretically.
Why shouldn't we have that?
I know.
But the bobcat won, and the red-tailed hawk and the mastodon didn't win.
No.
So.
Well, the mastodon was a weird one because, from what I understand, I don't know who the committee chair is, and I shouldn't criticize them, but from what I understand, those kids came in, and the hearing before them just kept going on and on and on. And you would think with a bunch of kids sitting there waiting, the chairman would have recessed that hearing, let the kids come and speak, and then started the other hearing back up but no, those kids waited for
Correct.
hours.
They were scheduled for, because that was my committee, they were scheduled for 2 o'clock.
Who's the chairman?
Representative Christie.
Did somebody slap him in the nose or something?
No, he went on schedule and stayed with what was. We were behind all along. Those kids, I give those kids credit. They showed up at 2 o'clock, little before 2 o'clock, came and they stayed in the hallways and mingling back and forth until it was, I think, 4:15 before they finally got before the committee.
Wow.
So they hung around in the hallways for over 2 hours.
Wow.
With the teachers, and they were good. They were quiet. There was no. You didn't even know they were out there.
Wow.
Did a great job just waiting.
Why
to be
didn't
heard.
did somebody talk to him? I said, why didn't you just recess it?
The unfortunate thing was that day too was one of the snow days, and the snow was coming down, and I felt bad too. I had to work that night, so I had to leave by 4:45.
Yeah.
I hung around as long as I could. Kids were just getting in there, just getting started, and I had to get up and eventually leave. And there was only probably 6 members of the committee left by the time 4:30 came around. It's 5:45.
Yeah, it's good because the little kids are going home in the frickin' sleet and snow and stuff. That's better. That'll teach them. Don't ever get involved in politics again, you little buzzards. So anyway, the committee voted that down or up?
We voted down.
Voted it down.
Yes.
Then it went to the full house last week.
Mm-hmm. And that was voted down on the House.
While they were in the balcony, right?
It was, I think they were up there, but I think the red-tail hawk kids the majority of the kids were there for the red-tail hawk.
Okay.
And they got to see a show between Representative Christie, Representative Burt, and Representative Groen talk about the red-tail hawk.
Huh.
And it was ridiculous because Groen, Burt, and who's the lady from Concord?
Christie Bartlett.
Christie Bartlett. She's who's she? She's chair? She's the chair?
No. Andrew Christie's the chair.
Oh, Andrew Christie. Okay. All 3 of them got up and said, we shouldn't be wasting our time with this. Mm-hmm. They spent, I would say, a total of at least a half hour to 45 minutes on the House floor explaining why we shouldn't be wasting our time. And nobody saw the irony in that.
I think, one of the saddest moments was bringing up Planned Parenthood and the abortion part of it from Representative Groen as to.
Oh, I didn't hear that part. No,
that's made the news. That's been out there.
Why did
he?
Why is that part?
He said that would be better as a symbol for them because it tears things up and rips them apart before it eats them, or something to that effect.
Wow.
That's a dumb thing to say. I like Warren, but that's a dumb thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Not that I've ever said anything dumb.
Fourth grade kids up in the audience listening to this, and I've gotten a couple emails from parents wanting to know, how do I explain to my kid what he meant by that?
Right. Yeah. He told me he was going to go up there and be brutal, and I said whatever, and I walked out of the room. So that's amazingly in bad taste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't. I actually voted for both of those. I voted for the red-tailed hawk and for the mastodon because, so what?
Right.
So what? We pass a bill. So what? You know?
Do you guys know how many of these official things we actually have? I bet we have a bunch of them. People,
It's
is it really?
relentless, and yeah, it's ridiculous.
Really?
The whole thing is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, I look at. I'm not sure how far people go looking into. Oh, does New Hampshire have a state fall? I mean, we know most states flower, tree.
Yeah.
The usual is bird.
Yeah, yeah.
And going further than that, but it's a great lesson for the kids. They
Yeah.
learn a lot.
Oh, sure.
I mean, the
yeah.
kids for the Mastodon got in touch with UNH researchers and did their whole project really well.
Yeah. Huh.
So it's a good learning experience for them.
Right.
Yeah, they
right.
learn how to be disappointed by their politicians early.
That's something you want to learn young.
Yeah,
Yes,
you don't want to
yes.
wait,
No,
you know?
no. You get the hard lessons out of the way young.
Yeah, exactly. That was I didn't realize Warren did that. That's even more brutal than I actually thought it was. Wow. Oh gosh. What else?
What else do we have going on? We have a couple of the bills going through that we were looking at that I was bringing up.
Hey,
to
wait,
talk
wait,
about.
wait. Oh yeah, go
ahead.
do that in a second. But
Yep.
Sometimes I get J.R. Hole, state rep from Bow. He gets up so much. I think he loses votes every time he gets up. You know what I mean? He's one of those people that's up there so often. What the heck did he do? It was like it was a ridiculous thing that he was fighting for. Representative Welch, who is a really nice guy, he's been there forever. Used to be chairman of criminal justice. Now I think he's vice chair right now, right?
Yes.
And he has been trying to get through this bill to allow. No, I think that's a different bill. I'm sorry, but he's been part of a bill to allow shooting in compact areas. The reason is if you know, a lot of your cemeteries are in like in the center of town or in compact areas, and if you got a veteran who's being buried, and you want to do a salute, okay,
yeah,
that's illegal,
okay.
right? Because you're discharging a firearm in a compact area. Well, up till now, the law has been that if you're going to discharge a firearm, you have to get permission or written permission. I think it was right.
Yes.
From the chief.
Yeah.
Well, some of these guys, you know, it's like almost an afterthought. They call the VFW and say, "Hey, my dad's being buried tomorrow, and he was, you know, at the landing of Normandy, and can you guys show up?" They don't have time to get permission.
Right. Right.
So you've got a veteran who's being put to rest and can't legally get. So we were trying to change the law so that. All they have to do is notify the police and the fire department and go about it. And they're just shooting blanks anyway.
Yeah.
And some of the concerns are some of the cemeteries are close to schools as well, and it's just notifying so that if you get a phone call saying, "Hey, there's someone shooting in the area,"
Yeah, they
know
can
what's
say,
going
"Oh,
on.
yeah, this
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, it is reasonable, but it made it more doable for the vets and for the people trying to do this. You know, less cumbersome.
Yeah.
So JR gets up and fights it on the House floor.
Really?
Why? Because constitutionally, if the veterans can do that, everybody should be able to do that. So basically, anybody that wants to call the police and tell them about to discharge a firearm, it was just like. Then I think he asked for a roll call.
Yeah.
He asked for a roll call. Because he's part of New Hampshire Firearm Coalition, which is the no compromise.
Correct.
Oh, so that was like painful to listen to. Sorry. Anyway,
Speaking of guns, we have coming over from the Senate, Senate Bill 116, which is the constitutional carry.
Oh, okay, cool.
So,
want to explain that? I think we've talked about it before, but it's no harm in re-explaining it.
What it does is it takes away the permit process to carry a concealed weapon. You can still get a permit if you want because state police is working on getting reciprocity with other states where permits are available. And if you have a permit in New Hampshire and the other states have reciprocity with New Hampshire, your permit will be good in that other state. But if you don't want to get a permit and you want to carry here in New Hampshire, currently you can carry openly with your firearm showing, and there's no problem with that. It's not against the law, not breaking any laws. What the trouble begins is if you're walking down the street and you have your suit coat on or whatever you may have on and your gun's hanging out, the wind comes along on a day like today and blows your coat up over your sidearm. It's no longer visible, and you didn't have a permit on you. Now you're breaking the law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because then it becomes a concealed weapon.
Yeah.
Or if it starts raining and you don't want it to get rusty.
Correct. So this would do away with the permitting process. Here in New Hampshire, Vermont currently has it. They've had it for years and never had a problem
forever.
over there. Passed the Senate. Senator Bradley, I think, was a prime sponsor of it, along with Senator Booton.
It seems like an odd one for him to sponsor because he's usually kind of moderately. He's not really that radical.
So it'll be coming to
Booton's-
your committee, I believe.
No,
Criminal justice, correct?
no, I'm a judiciary.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that-
criminal justice
I never
is where
get
it's
any of
going.
the wicked fun ones. But that's cool. That should pass the House. I can't
And-
see any reason why that wouldn't.
I don't think they'll have a
governor will
problem.
Veto it, won't she? Even if it gets past the Senate, she'll.
She,
most likely-
the interesting thing is that isn't one of the bills she's even mentioned yet, so I'm not
Really?
sure what's going to happen with that. I think it's a wait and see on the vote. I'm not sure
She's-
where it's going to go.
The rumor is she wants to run for Kelly Ayotte's seat,
Right.
and you don't want to aggravate the gun people,
Right. Yeah.
right? I mean, Democrat, Republican, the one group of people you don't want to aggravate is the gun people. What do we had? We had a bill in to quote unquote get rid of the gun show loophole last week. That died hard.
Yes, that went down big time.
It was like
That
50 votes for it or something like
There
that.
wasn't a lot. Might have been 60 or
50
somewhere
or
up
so.
there.
Yeah, it was like wicked small percentage.
Yeah.
And part of the problem is they keep claiming that there's a gun show loophole, and it's already illegal to sell a handgun to somebody you don't know.
Okay.
Correct.
And people don't know that because they, but it is. You can't put a handgun
why
on
would you-
Facebook and sell it to some stranger.
Would you want to sell your gun to someone you don't know, knowing that if they go commit a crime with it, you're now responsible because that, or if he was a felon, came to you, Gary, can I buy? I see you have a nice handgun there. You want to sell it? You don't know the guy, don't know if he has a record or anything, and if you sell it, not knowing, no background check to a felon, you're just as responsible for selling that gun.
Is that a state law or is that a federal law?
State.
That's state. Okay.
State, because the federal, that's what people might not understand, is that the laws governing selling of firearms pertain to licensed gun shops or licensed dealers,
Okay.
because the license is from the federal government.
Okay.
So they have regulatory power over a licensed dealer.
Okay.
They don't have regulatory power over you if you want to sell me a rifle or a handgun.
Okay.
So the state has, that's why I really get upset when people say, oh, the federal government has to pass this. They don't. The states can do what they want.
Sure.
And if there's a loophole that the state wants to plug, it can.
Yeah.
But it's not up to the federal government to regulate private sales of firearms. It's
Yeah.
up to the state. In New Hampshire, they just say, well, we don't really care that much about rifles, but if you're selling a handgun, it's got to be sold to somebody that you know. And I don't think it means the biblical known to you, because that would be weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be really intimate.
So one of the other bills, while I was pulling up, just doing a little bit of research here, was one of the bills I noticed you were a co-sponsor on this
I
time
am?
around. Yeah, relative to the harassment of hunting, fishing, or trapping.
Why? I'm a co-sponsor of that?
You are.
Is that a Senate bill or a House bill?
That's a Senate bill. Sponsored by, prime sponsor is Senator Waters. It says, and it passed the Senate. No person shall purposely engage in an activity that will tend to disturb wild animals with intent to prevent their lawful taking. So I
Senator Waters asked
think
me.
yes.
He used to be on my committee when I was chairman of Fish and Game. That's how I got to know him. He's a really nice guy.
He is, and so that was put in. That passed the Senate. That's coming.
He's
the
a
House.
Democrat, but you know, he's one of the ones I hate least too.
Right. Good.
Right,
Good.
on the list.
Yes. Excellent. That's good.
I've got a list.
And it also says that you can't use drones for
For harassing,
conducting video surveillance or lawfully hunting, fishing, trapping without obtaining written consent of the persons being surveilled.
Well, this harassing thing. I mean, does this goes on?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, some of the
Like PETA?
PETA type people will do all kinds of things to harass hunters. I don't think it's happened in New Hampshire, but it happens.
We haven't had anything here.
But it's happened around the country
It
where
has,
they'll go and mess with people and follow them into the woods and
Okay.
and like I'm sure that Senator Waters didn't put the drone thing in there unless it's probably already been used. They sit there, you know.
That was a request of fishing game. Because there were some, actually, it was surprising that there were some states, and I'm not sure which ones, that there were made these drones that you could actually almost sit at home on a video screen, fly the drone around, and with a firearm attached to this drone and pick and choose your target. There were canned hunts, paid canned hunts that you could do.
Oh, they'd have to be be on wheels though, not in the air.
There was the drones were doing the surveilling, and it was remote shooting from.
Interesting.
No way.
Yes. Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's
fixed firearm in the woods.
What was your take? There was another bill to make it illegal to use those new rifles. I don't know if people aren't into the guns. They might not know this, but there's a new rifle that somebody sells. I think they're about $10,000 a copy.
Wow.
They're wicked expensive. But basically, you get on a target, and the target could be 600 yards away or 1,000 yards away.
Yeah.
And as soon as you're on the target, you pull the trigger. The gun then follows the target, figures out the wind drift, trajectory, and the how fast the target's moving.
Yeah.
And then releases the bullet.
Wow.
Okay? So what would take somebody like me 5 shots to even get close,
Yeah.
okay, it gets it the first shot.
Wow.
Okay, so there was a bill in to make those illegal to hunt with in New Hampshire.
Really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it. I don't think it's a big deal because I can't imagine anybody being able to afford one.
Something like that's got to make the laser sound when it shoots.
I mean, someone.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
come
it
on.
has
It's
to.
got
Yeah,
to.
it's got to.
We know someone like Stretch Kennedy would have bought one.
Yeah, Stretch would definitely get one.
He would have had one of those.
He would have had one. The other thing, too, is in New Hampshire, there's so few opportunities to shoot more than 50 yards. I don't understand why you
out
would.
west, the Plain States.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do believe we had a bill to try to make those. I think I was talking to Gene Chandler about that, and he's all for getting rid of them for hunting anyway.
And one of the other bills I found was pretty interesting that came up. It was another Senator Waters bill. At the request of Fish and Game again. I heard this proposal. I chaired the sustainability of Fish and Game, the committee to study sustainability of Fish and Game. And they brought this forward that other states were doing it. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how it's going to do. But what it does is it allows the executive director shall establish a lifetime license and rules adopted and for a combination hunting and freshwater fishing lifetime license for a resident who has not yet reached his or her first birthday at a cost of $300. And my argument to him, they said these were all going to go into a fund where they would compound interest, and by the time the person was eligible 16 years later for a license, would cover the cost going forward. I didn't think it was really affordable. I mean, it's affordable at this price, $300. Who wouldn't buy their kid a lifetime license for $300? But I think in the end, I'm not sure they'll be recouping enough money versus what they would getting a yearly license out of these individuals.
I'd bet they will. You know why? Because there'll be some sappy grandfather like me that says, oh, yeah, I'll get one for my grandson Abel. He's one. Okay? I'll buy that for him now for his first birthday present or something like that. Odds are he won't go hunting.
Or he'll move out of state and won't be a resident here anymore.
Right.
Yeah, odds are you'll never use that.
Yeah, it's a risky gift.
and so the state just got $300 and there's no consequences. So
Yeah, because they're making you make that decision before the
kid
child
has
turns
a
one.
clue. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure how it's going to play out or how well they'll do
I
with
bet
it.
there's a probability thing in there. They've got to know there's a certain percentage of those licenses would never be used. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
why they can afford it. I don't know.
I hope so,
Right.
because I know when they were doing away with those lifetimes for a while there, the last ones they were doing, they were given at a decent price before they finally, now it's not too cheap to get anything. any
Why?
license
How
from
much
them.
is a lifetime license now?
I'm not sure what they are. I'm not even sure if, I don't even know if they have them on the
If
books
I send
anymore.
in my health records, will they give me one cheaper? Because the probability is I won't live 2 years. Right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to think outside the box.
I know.
Yeah.
It should be based on your insurance premiums or something like that. Your life,
Right.
If your life insurance premiums are really, really high, then they give you a cheap rate. You know what I'm saying?
Well, one of the other things they were talking about was going from, these people that are just getting ready to turn 65 to get their free license. They've hunted all these years. One of the talks was moving that age up to 68. So I wouldn't want to be someone in that 64, 65-year-old range saying, oh, I've paid all these years and now next year I'm going to get to hunt for free if they ever bump up to that 68 age
Yeah, but
range.
if they do that, they'll probably gradually do it. Like, in other words, so
I
the
would hope
person
so.
just turning doesn't gets in under the wire, so to speak.
We'll see. We'll see
But-
where they go from there.
I just know the only thing I ever cared about growing up is they moved the drinking age down to 18 just before I turned 18.
Yeah.
And then they moved it
Moved
back up to 21 because of me.
It's your fault.
It's my fault. It is
the other one.
absolutely, yes. So all those people out there that are upset because they changed it, you're looking at
There
it.
it is.
Yeah.
There's the cause of the problem.
Yeah. What else we got?
What
Anything?
else we got? We have what else we have going on? We get I was elected this year to I co-chair the New Hampshire Legislative Sportsman's Caucus with
Yep.
Representative Chandler.
Yeah.
And when I went to their annual meeting back in December,
Yeah.
out in Bend, Oregon,
Yeah.
I got elected onto the executive committee for the
Ooh.
national. So
Oh, very good.
that was
Oregon.
interesting. Yeah.
Wow, that's wicked far.
That was way.
How was that?
That was fun. Nice country.
Yeah.
You know, it was plenty of snow on the ground. Got to do a little fly fishing, trout fishing.
Oh, really?
Walking down the streams and snow on the banks, and you're walking down a river, and it started snowing out when we were out there. It was
Really
fun.
nice, huh?
Beautiful country. Gorgeous.
It's on my list. My bucket list is to drive out west in a motorcycle.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
That's on the bucket list. I don't know if it's necessarily a great idea. I know that skydiving was on my bucket list, and I
Yeah.
kind of wish I hadn't put it on there.
Well, I don't think you're locked in. I think you can take.
No, I
take
already
stuff
did
off
it.
the list.
You know, I did take it off. I did it.
Oh, you did. You.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. That was got to be the most terrifying few
Was it?
minutes of my life.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I had to talk myself through it.
Yeah.
You know, I just knew I know it's safe. You know what I mean? Really.
Reasonably.
Yeah, reasonably safe. So my son paid for it, so I kind of said, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'll go."
Yeah.
And they do it. You're tethered to the guy in back of you, so it's a little bit on the gay side, but
Right. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's just like you talk. Just, okay, I don't have to do anything right now. I'm just getting in the plane. Okay, I'm in the plane, but I don't have to do anything right now. I'm not out and flying yet. And
Yeah.
then they're pushing me towards the door, and so I don't know. You know, I just kept talking myself
Yeah.
through the next few minutes.
Yeah.
My face was white as a ghost when I landed. Oh, it was wicked bad.
Really,
I
yeah.
think I came close to passing out.
Yeah.
I was that freaking tweaked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, were the people
Wow.
going out before you got your chance to go? Were there other people that jumped first?
Oh yeah, my son Sean, he actually paid an extra $100. It was a place in Maine. I forget the name of it. They did a really good job. Okay, I mean they did a great job as far as if you like to plummet.
Yeah.
And he paid an extra $100 to have himself videotaped.
Oh.
So this girl jumped out with them and videotaped my son and the guy that looks like they're doing something unnatural.
Yeah.
In back of him. And my son's screaming all the way down. He had a blast. He wants to do it again.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
Are you going to take you with him again?
I ain't going again. But
How far did you free fall before your shoe came out?
Way too long.
Yeah.
The guy kept going, "You all right? You all right?" Yeah, I'm okay.
Pull the chute.
Well, even if you're not, I mean, at that point,
what's it matter?
Yeah.
Once you're out the door, there's no turning back, huh?
No, they don't let you back in. I tried.
Yes.
Anyway, so I think we're out of time, but I don't think
time.
there's much else going on, right? As far as
no, crossover's done, and we're on
clear
our little
sailing
break,
from
and
here, right?
That's it. Those few Senate bills will come over, and wait for the budget.
Jeff, thank you very much for showing up. You're an awesome legislator, and it's actually a lot of fun working with you up there.
Thank you for having me on.
You're a good guy.
Anytime.
Yep, thanks,
Glad
Jeff.
to come back.
For a Democrat. For a Democrat.
Yes,
I mean, I have
you had to
say
throw that in there.
but
Yes.
Throw that one out there.
Hey, we'll see you next
Bye,
week.
everybody.